Morning everybody, Silverbolt here, back for another Transformers review. As per the title page, obviously, going to be doing RID Prime. And this is the first part of a three-part video detailing the Autobot brothers, the Autobot Prime brothers, that being Optimus, Ultra Magnus, and Omega Prime, sorry. Omega Prime video is actually already done. I did that first thing this morning, and I'm doing Optimus Prime now. Now then, Optimus Prime in RID follows the very much, your archetypical Optimus Prime. He is, he's very brave and he's very steadfast and he's very noble. And Optimus Prime has seen the devastation that Megatron has caused with his wars, and he swears down that he will not allow this to happen on Earth. So when Megatron shows up and captures Dr. Onishi, who is Koji's father, Prime is pretty much the first one you see on hand to stop him and fight him. In the cartoon, Optimus is a lot more straightforward than the comic/slapstick personality traits of some of the other Autobots, like Sideburn, or even some of the incidents that occur with the spy changes. Prime is very much straight and all down the line. So he's definitely not turned into comic relief, or any form of comic relief, namely because most of the fans would go absolutely mental at it. Obviously, even Optimus Prime became, a bit of a joke. That can't be done. Now he's viewed as a very much a great leader, and he is a great leader. He's an Optimus Prime. I mean, there's never been an Optimus Prime that wasn't a very good leader. And he's viewed as such, though. He does like to make long speeches, and he's very naive at times. If he believes that somebody can be rescued from themselves, then he will give them the chance to do it. A fact that the Decepticons exploit in about midway through the series. Well, yeah, about midway through the series, the Decepticons exploit that, pretending that they're good guys when they're actually bad guys. Now, when Prime, of course, figures this out and realises that he's been tricked, he's a bit pissed. He's a wee bit pissed. And he goes medieval on them, and he obliterates them completely. So he's very noble, but he's very naive with it. Prime is a mainstay of the entire RID series. Obviously, he's an Optimus Prime, so he's going to have to be. And he comes in and out, and he sometimes takes on a bit too much in the name of the greater good and sacrifice. He sometimes takes on a bit too much than he can handle, like the time when he fights Skybite underwater and gets slapped around quite a significant amount. He has a brother, which I don't want to do too much of that storyline at the moment, because I'll save that one for the Ultra Magnus review. And that brother, of course, is, as I've just said, Ultra Magnus. And in RID, you already have the Autobot brothers in the form of Prowl, X-Brawn, and Sideburn. So you've got that, because they are, despite their personality differences, the three Autobot brothers are quite close, and probably they will form a review of their own. But Magnus and Prime aren't, and why not? I will get to in the Ultra Magnus review, so I don't end up repeating everything that I've said in this one. So I'm going to leave the storyline with Ultra Magnus in Transformers RID until my Ultra Magnus review, which will be coming next after this one. Because, right, RID shows Prime as a fire truck, and I believe it's the first instance where we see Prime as a fire truck. And something that stays true throughout the next few comic series. I think in Armada, he was a fire truck, but he was a very weird one. In Energon, God knows what the hell he was. And in Cybertron again, he was a fire truck, albeit a very futuristic one. And once battling on Earth, they eventually come across something called the O-Parts. which will lead them to Fortress Maximus, which is the real reason why Megatron's on Earth. He wants the power of Fortress Maximus. And Prime almost flounders a bit when he doesn't quite know what to do, because he's almost loath to turn the power of Fortress Maximus even on the Predacons, because he has simply so much power. I mean, the O parts were a really stupid notion of bringing Fortress Max into it. You know, they form a little ring. It's a ring. You know, and the latter half of the series of RID is all about Optimus Prime running around like a chicken that's had its head cut off, trying to get a hold of the O parts, and also trying not to get caught by Megatron and the Decepticons and the Predacons. The Predacons are eventually stopped. I mean, Optimus Prime does have several one-on-one battles with Megatron and also the other Predacons at once. At one point, almost dying before coming back again. You know, it's Optimus Prime. If he doesn't do a Jesus, then it's not Optimus Prime. So he does have a lot of one-on-one battles, because he does have that very much, I'm going to go off and die in a very heroic way. And RID Prime really brings that to the fore. He's very self-sacrificing. The guy can't wait to become a martyr. I mean, he almost seems to get rather annoyed when nothing kills him. Though he does get very close at times. And at times he seems to underestimate the loyalty his men have for him. Because at one point, you know, he's almost knocked speechless by when the Autobot brothers turn around and say, you know, we're going to be there for you whether you like it or not. You know, he does seem to underestimate his own troops. But that being said, he really does appreciate them. So I just felt like doing that. He really does appreciate his troops. Like all Primes, of course. You know, he'd jump in the way of the gates of hell itself to protect any of them. Okay, now this particular version of RID Prime is the American release. This actually isn't mine. This is my friend Adam's. And there are a few notable differences between the two, which I will get to. Now, this is RID Prime in his vehicle mode, duh. And here, minus the shoulder guards, I will point out, is RID in his battle mode. Now, this is my version, because this version belongs to my friend Adam. And he's on one of my subscriptions lists. I can't remember his name actually, but he's on one of my subscriptions lists. And this is his version. Now, he's got the American version of RID Prime and the American version of RID Magnus. I picked this up at Auto Assembly last year for about a tenner actually. I was really lucky. And this is the Japanese release of RID Prime. The only thing that's wrong with this one is it's missing one of its shoulder pads. So the other one's actually up on the shelf. Oh well, it's up on the shelf, but he's missing one of the shoulder pads. So that's the Japanese version of RID Prime. And I also have Japanese Ultra Magnus, which arrived in its box that Adam very graciously got for me off eBay, though of course I had to pay the money back, but got this off eBay, which, despite the fact that it's still sealed, and in C9 condition, because there's a bit of a groove in the box here, I will be opening. You can just imagine some people now, no! Right, so here we have the Japanese one, and I'm going to transform this fella for you now. This is where it gets fun. Though it's, in all fairness, it's got to be said, Optimus Prime isn't the hardest. Okay, first thing we do is take this middle wheel out. Yeah, these tend to be slotters instead of push-ins, so you've actually got to click them into place. This, of course, forms his handgun, something that RID Prime is often seen without in auctions, because of course it's, you know, it's one of the small pieces, which it's not the best idea in the world, because you actually need it to push in there because it forms a middle wheel. So when Optimus Prime is in nothing but his cab mode, it doesn't go donk, donk, donk. Okay, so we release the front wheels, and then we just pretty much have to jimmy. It makes noises, by the way. But yeah, we have to jimmy the parts off. There we go. I will get it off. There we go. Because again, instead of pulling it out, you've actually got to push it out because it doesn't just snap out of place. Okay. RID, very show accurate transformation in the cartoon. So the arms flip up, the body flips into place, the legs snap out, and I'll get to the leg part stuff. Push the body down, lift up the aerial soul things, the flashy lights for the fire engine, pull the arms forward and pull them out. And now for the legs, which is always the fun part. The feet are actually inside the cab itself, so they just flip outwards. There we go. And there we have RID Prime in his basic robot mode. And very nice. Apart from the legs, you know, he's very, very nice. The legs, I think, are very, very chunky wide. Oh, hang on. There we go. You've got to flip the edges back in. There we go. I think the legs are very, very chunky wide. I mean, the animation in the cartoon is quite amusing because you see Optimus Prime's legs, you know, snap forward when he transforms into robot mode. And for some reason, every time I watch it, I keep getting the impression he's just going to go, you know, I think he's just going to keep going. Has voice modes, of course. I'm trying to think where you get the parts out to take the battery out. Anyway, has, of course, voice modes. With flashy lights, annoying voice sirens. Whenever you finished, I'm not actually pressing this. There we go. Yeah, that's one thing, because what the Americans did when they translated the show from Japanese into English for the toy was they took a general translation and somehow it became Maximize. But seeing as Optimus Prime is an Autobot, not a Maximal, why he says Maximize, I don't know. And machine gun noises. There we go. Now then, on to Omega Prime. Not Omega Prime, Big Uber Prime. Oops. Basically, this guy. Right then, now the trailer itself comes in, well, it comes in parts that pull apart. Comes in parts that pull apart. Wow, you can tell an education wasn't wasted on me. Quite stiff as well. There we go. Okay, you've got feet, which fold out, and then the wheels. Rubber tyres as well. Just don't you know. Rubber tyres. The wheels fold inwards. There we go. That's of course on both parts. So the feet fold out and the wheels fold in. Okay, you then need to open up the grey flap. Now, by the way, I'm doing this on memory, so I'm probably going to fudge it somewhere down the line and pull out the inside parts. On both of them like that. There we go. These two bits with the Autobot logo on, they're just shoulder guards. The hands literally just fold inside out. Very easily done. Okay, and now to put him into Omega Prime mode. First things first. Okay, funnily enough, the feet. Yeah, this way. and push it into place. As I said, this is the first time I've done this in a while, so I'm probably going to fudge it. There's 2 pins. There's one in here in his heel, and then there's one at the front there, which just snip into place just to fit it up. Do the same with the other leg, which gives you his forward base. The arms, easy enough to do. They just, I think, well, they should do. Yeah, the arms just snap on over the arm place. There's 2 pins here. You just push them in. And last but not least, the shoulder guards. I gotta remember how to do this now because because I don't have the shoulder guards myself. I've never really used them, so I've got to remember how they go. That's it. Yes, that's it. I think. Ah. Is that right? No, that's not right. BRB. Once I figure out how to do this. Right, okay, back. As far as I can tell, they just slot in like that. Next, you need to pull. I've probably done this the wrong way completely. Prime up, chest plate size. And that way, you can take this part after turning the fire engine parts of it down. Ah! That might be why. Don't ask me what I've just done, because I actually don't know.
Optimus Prime, maximize!
Shut up. There's 2 pegs in Optimus Prime's shoulder joints, which just supposed to push into place. But because of the weight of the back, it's rather awkward to do. Shut up! You are now annoying me. Be quiet. You know what? Take the shoulder parts off. Knew I'd do it backwards somehow.
Optimus Prime, maximize!
I'm gonna hurt you. Well, no, I'm not, because as I said, this isn't even my toy. This is really getting on my nerves now. There we go. I think. Yes, there we go. Whew. Don't you flaming well dare fall off, which is exactly what you're going to do. That's what I did wrong. Ah, there we go. Then, of course, just pop the shoulder guards back in. Being very, very careful. Never mind, you know what. Right, I make a prime with 1 shoulder guard in place. And then, of course, we have his giant rocket launcher, which, spring out the missiles, you get that. And then, of course, at the front, you get a little bit there. Spring-loaded goodness! Now, as I said, this is the American release for RID Prime. This is my friend Adam's, and I can just figure out how. Sometimes the easiest solutions are the worst. The easiest are the best. There we go. We have the American version, which is this one, and we have the Japanese version. And it's awkward enough to tell, but there are some similarities. In the Japanese one, don't fall, the chest bandolier here is black. The metallic facing on the Autobot, on things like his face, is slightly different colour. And the other thing about it is, the main difference is that, as you saw with the American one, when you activate the missile launchers here, in this thing, I haven't got any missiles in this, by the way, right, then they all just lock into place. However, if I had a full rack of missiles in this thing with the Japanese version, all the missiles would fire at the same time. They're the only real differences in the two toys. Now, as the toy itself, well, you're going to be a pain, aren't you? Aside from being fiddly as hell when you're not used to it, I mean, it's not overly complicated. It's, you know, it's just a little bit fiddly. And I haven't actually transformed this thing in God knows how long. Because I got my RID Prime, minus the shoulder guard, as I said, at Auto Assembly last year. And I have, you know, and it's been sat on display on my shelf for God knows how long. But Prime is a lovely toy. The three of them that combine are really, really nice toys. Complaints about Optimus Prime, I don't really have any. About RID Prime, I don't really have any per se. Apart from the fact, you know, it's a little bit fiddly until you get used to it. But other than that, that's not even a real complaint, because of, you know, a few transformations and a bit of practice will sort that out for you. Price-wise, they're expensive. The RID stuff, well, especially the figures like this, which have only had 2 issues as far as I'm aware, which was the original 2000 Japanese release and the 2001 American release for Robots in Disguise. Because, of course, in Japan, it's car robots. Because, as I said in, I believe, my Skybite video, the RID continuity is its own storyline. It's not attached to the G1 or Beast Wars or Armada or anything like that. It's simply its own continuity. Yeah, you can make his guns face forward. They're pulse cannons, if I recall correctly. And, I mean, RID Prime has another mode for the trailer. It forms a kind of weird base, which doesn't really look like anything apart from everything else just slotted into next to each other. So, I didn't bother with that one. It does have another mode, but it's not really much of a mode. It's the 4 pieces connected to each other in a random configuration. So anyway, the toy is lovely. It has very good articulation, shoulders, elbows. This is in Omega Prime. This is in Super Prime mode. Head moves naturally. Some up and down articulation. The legs move at both the hip and the knee. Sounds like I'm doing a Teletran 3 video here. And there's a little bit of movement in the toe. Not that it's a huge difference that it moves in the toe, but there we go. So, you know, he's got quite a good articulation. Because of his general size, it doesn't mean he articulates. You know, he's very good for posing, because of the weight of this thing, it does tend to be quite heavy on his... Oh, there we go, I've managed to do it. I was going to say, I'm just going to drop it. I'm just going to put this one down and grab the other one. Very, very nice toy. As I said, 3 of them are lovely. But getting expensive. Well, getting very expensive, because I said they've only had the 2 issues of them. They haven't had reissues as far as I'm aware. Then apart from a spy changer Optimus Prime. But there we go. They are expensive. I've seen Optimus Prime in his box, well, even without his box, go for 50 quid. You know, I mean, and of course, because it's got lots of little firing bits, then there's two issues with it. One, people lose the missiles. I mean, I actually have all 4 missiles, I just don't have them in the toy. They're in my bag somewhere, which is my spare bag of Transformer parts. And the other thing is, of course, you know, given enough time, springs tend to wear down. Because he's got white parts on him, they will yellow over time. So, you know, he's one of those toys that can be sold in so many different conditions, but people will still pay the earth for him. With good reason, you know. He's a fantastic toy. He really is. The fact that he so towers above his other Autobots, apart from Rail Racer, and the Build Team Combiner, which I don't have, though Adam does. So, see if we can convince him to do a review of it. Oh yes, there is also, on both versions, the hidden Matrix part. But, neither here nor there. Awesome toy. I mean, I got this cheaply at Auto Assembly. I mean, I picked it up for about a tenner, mainly because it's missing one of the shoulder guards. But you can pay an awful lot for it if you can't find it on the face. But that's me for now. I've waffled on enough for this video. But so for now, this is Silverbolt with Optimus Prime RID and Optimus Prime RID signing off, saying au revoir. No, don't fall over. Right, there we go. With RID Optimus Prime signing off, saying au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen.